Chapter 7. The next day, Oma took us to register for school. We went in low because the school was on the edge of town. That was the problem. With our river, since there was nothing other than prairie out here, it seemed the town thought it might as well spread out. Our River High School was actually in an imposing building. It had columns outside the front door like the Parthenon, and a huge lawn that some poor soul had obviously taken a good deal of care in mowing. There was also a track, a football field, and tennis courts. The inside of the school was like something preserved for a museum. Floors waxed and gleaming, rows of shiny lockers, not a single one bent of graffitied. At El Caldero High, such a sight would be considered a miracle, like when the face of Jesus appeared in a tortilla this lady was frying. Much clearer than your old school, don't you think? Oma asked us in English. I could tell you she was practicing up for meeting the principal. She looked calm, but the hand that clutched the folder with our school records was a hand with a mission. You couldn't have pried that thing away from her. We followed the trophy cases, which contained rows of gleaming trophies and framed pictures of sport teams, plaques in the shape of Minnesota. We found the door marked principal and bumped into the big man himself, Mr. Ripanen. His office was right there when you came in. You didn't have to be admitted through several sets of doors like at our school. Hello. Hello, the Kim family, he bumped, extending his hands in welcome. Yes, I was the one who called earlier, Mama said, almost shyly. Come on in, he said, us, ushering us into the office. We let Oma sit closest to him. He had a poster that said it takes a village to raise a child over his desk. Sujin would love it. I was thinking. John's school report caught his eye right away. John has a great record, he said, looking from me to her as if he were trying to figure out which was which. I know we look alike as babies, the same hair, the stock up like a mad scientist, the same black coma eyes. But this was ridiculous. Let's see. Just about straight A's. Just a few math words. He leaned back in his chair, finger to his lips, as if he were trying to keep a laugh or something inside. She was she was first runner up in the state math contest. Oh my god, volunteered, and she was just accepted into LA Young People's Orchestra. He seemed slightly relieved and wheeled his chair to face John head on. He asked her about her interests, and she said she liked to find an orchestra as well as get in some higher level math courses, since she had already taken three. We have a very good marching band, Mr. Bripanen said. They play all over the state. Young smiled politely. I think for her the idea of playing her precious silver flute in some band was about as inviting as mud wrestling. And we'll see about those classes. And your turn, he said to me. I wasn't sure if that was a question, but I nodded my head to be on the safe side. He scanned my record. I'm pretty much a B, occasionally A student, minus A student. But let me tell you, that still requires an effort. Very good, he said diplomatically. He asked me what my interests were. I didn't know what to say. I didn't want to sound like I'm moron next to John. I like to read, I said finally, even though both John and Alma were looking at me in surprise. I'm glad we live by the library. Good, Mr. Rippenen said heartily. Good to be a reader. My son's already obviously loves books. I was thinking about mentioning soccer, but after he said that, I decided that his kid was probably a geek, so I shouldn't risk upsetting him. For a guy that big to have wiki kid, that must be a drag. Besides, and Abaji, especially Abaji, have never counted sports as a legit school activity. Anyone can build muscle. Abaji would say, point to his arm. Then he point to his head. But building brain, that's much tougher. What about a school bus? I'm asked. Mr. Wimple looked puzzled. What about it? Where do children pick it up? Mr. Pinus still looked puzzled. You live on Howard Street by the library, right? Alma nodded. There isn't a bus. Mr. looked amused. No, Mr. Whippanen looked amused. But it's so far. Oma protested. The only kids who get the bus service are the ones in Nishawanting, which is almost an hour away. You should see what a headache it is getting them here when it snows. Strong and I were going to walk to school every day, rain, shine or snow. Ark. I know most people think Californians jump in their car to visit their next door neighbors, but that's an exaggeration. We were a mile from school, definitely driving distance. You're less than a mile from the school, Mr. Rippon said, as if my thoughts were broadcast on a billboard. I said it less than 3/4 of a mile, and it's good to walk. Kids don't get enough exercise these days. Oh, yeah? And what about your Kiki son? Oma accepted all this gracefully. Okay, if they're supposed to walk, they walk. We'll have something to tell our grandkids. Young added cheerfully. I wanted to pinch here. Mr. Ripanen informed us that Jong and I would be entering 11th grade, right on schedule. Jong, I need you to help me start cleaning up the store. Abaji announced. We will begin immediately after lunch. Mr. Knudsen offered us some spam sandwiches. At first, Oma and Abaji declined. No, too much trouble. We don't want to eat up your food. But the third time, Mr. Knudsen offered they pounced. Abaji said to us that spam is considered a delicacy in Korea. Jung gave me a look. We knew spam was made of rotten parts. Mr. Knudsen looked pleased. Spam is made right here in Minnesota, she said. There's plenty to go around. After lunch, Jung and I sat around waiting for Abaji. There was no sound coming in from the open window except for the occasional purr of a car, the, the, the chirp of a bird. No clanking, honking, or cursing. No sirens. No whoosh creak of a bus going by. It was just nothing. Weird. You know what? I think Abuji's taking a nap. I strained my ears. Sure enough, there was a slight breathing noise coming from the bedroom, regular as ocean waves. That's a new one. Young looked worried. I know, it's not like him. She hesitated. I wonder if I'll have to sell my float. What? Young's float is a solid silver number that costs a couple $100. Do you have a drug habit you haven't told me about? Opa, this is serious, she said. I have a feeling money is going to be kind of tight around here. When hasn't it been tight? Once Abaji had chewed us out because he thought we were wasting toilet paper. He rationed us to 3 squares per dump. Unbelievable. Oma gave Jong and me some money to buy extra rolls on the sly. Listen, says, I'm sure we got a fair sum of money from selling the store. Abaji loaned Bong and a lot of money to buy this one. We weren't making anything now. Hey kid, I'll be alright. I put my arm around her. Your Opa will make sure of that. Of course. I was worried too. It's cheaper to live in the boonies, but you're also going to have fewer customers. And it's not like Oma and Abuji's friends are around to give us things like they used to. Fresh fish from Mr. Lee's fishing boat, bags of rice, clothes from the ones who own the stores. I got my favorite soccer shorts from Mr. Park Abuji's best friend. I picked them out myself. Opa, I'm scared, Jung said. Her eyes are all liquidy, like a puppy's. You'll be alright, Jung. I stopped to listen myself. What slim peeking in my big brother repertory. I took a breath. Okay, then let's do something. Maybe we need to take charge. Let's wake Abuji and get him on the ball. Don't give me a look, like, I dare you. I went upstairs. Abuji was sleeping on the Korean quilt, the one that had patterns of dragons on it. He slept neatly, his arms close to his sides, like a soldier. Their room, never big to begin with, looked even smaller with all the stuff crammed in. From the corner to the Buddha statue grinned at me from under a stack of legal-looking papers. Next to the bed was Abuji's Bible. Back in LA, he always kept it next to the bed, too. For some reason, I picked it up. I looked at the gilt embossed on the cover and realized that even though
I knew the Korean word for Bible, Sonjikon. I had no idea what it looked like writing. I had no idea which of these clusters of letters spell it out. I opened the book. Then the next was split in two columns, the English on one side, Korean on the other. There were some notations in Korean on both sides. The writing was faded and wispy, as if it had been painted on by spider legs. On Sunday mornings, even though Abuji didn't have time to go to church, he was always up early with a cup of coffee, studying the Bible. He translated the Korean to English and then checked himself with the English version. What I, what I remember, too, was whenever there was a lull at the extravaganza, he pulled out his Korean English dictionary and just read it, like he was reading a book. A thought suddenly occurred to me. Was this how he thought himself English? I would give him a lot to know what the writing in the margin said. I guess I wouldn't. I would give him a lot to know anything. Only I didn't want to have to ask him. Sounds crazy, doesn't it? Abaji's snores went up, then down. Snark, whiz, snark, whiz. His forehead was creased, as if he had to concentrate on staying asleep. I put the Bible gently back into place and left the room. When Abaji appeared at dinner, he looked like he just come out of a coma. Young and I didn't say anything. He and Oma went to bed early.